We're talking today about an upcoming release of the Nike BLAZER Mid Splatter, which is right here by me here. But before we do that, we have to say goodbye to these guys right here. That's the Sacai BLAZER Mid, one of my favorite shoes to have ever got a W on at the sneakers app. And I held on to those shoes, I want to say, for close to 2 years now, to be honest. They were a half size too small, but I didn't want to let them go. But a little clear out the other day, I went shopping in Tokyo, which is a great thing to be able to do, to get out and about. So I haven't done that for months and months and months, if you know what I'm saying. And then being able to offload those half-size too small BLAZER mids and my extra pair of Bred 4s for a little bit of profit, which made me happy. But we had to say goodbye to a nice shoe, so I can't do the old holding up here, which is great when you've got a green screen and the yellow in that shoe actually doesn't work on the green screen. It just looks like you're holding a hollow shoe. But farewell to those and hello to these today, this mid splatter. And there's an awful lot to talk about, and this is to do with the branding, to do with the hits, the design of the heel branding, the choice of the swoosh, the placement of the splatter, because it's very carefully placed, not actually just a random splatter as the name suggests, and of course the construction of the shoe and the position of the branding. So there's a lot to get into, so let's do it. Let's get into this and have a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike BLAZER Mid 77 Splatter. This is a Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker channelです。毎日アップするので毎日見てください。And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today in the spotlight is that beautiful upcoming release on, I think, April the 23rd, if I read this one rightly, of the Nike BLAZER Mid 77s. I've seen them also called Vintage 77 splatters with that paint that's splattered in there. And one of my favorite things about this shoe that I've read up on is that it's kind of a balance. It's for people who are really particular about their shoes and keep their shoes really nice and clean and orderly, because it's a beautiful and well thought out, a carefully thought out shoe. But also it's for those out there who don't care so much and don't mind a bit of splatter, a bit of rough, because basically the design on the shoe is all about paint that's dripped off and splattered on your shoes, for example when you're decorating your house. But because it's well made and constructed so precisely, but it represents that kind of rough and tumble world, it's a great shoe for just about anybody out there, and it bridges those two houses of the keep them clean and wear them and make them mean. So it's great to have a shoe like that coming around the corner and people being able to get involved in it and interested in it. And it's not just the splatter, of course. We'll get into that splatter and we'll look at the different placements of it on the different shoes so you can see how non-symmetrical these guys are, but also the swoosh, the materials used in there, the branding on the heel, which is quite unique, and then some other little hits, some off-white that's off-white, if you know what I'm saying. We'll get into it. First things first though, let's talk about that splatter, and I'll find ways to show this to you. And I was looking at the shoes, researching it as I do every single day, and check the shoes out and find out which one I want to bring to you guys. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to be able to show you different angles, and I'll hopefully be able to roll through a few of them here. And what I want you to focus on and get an impression of is that it's symmetrical splatter on the shoe. So you should be able to see, different views from the side, from the lateral. We've got both shoes side by side. Up from above, for example, might be another good way to look at it and see that it's symmetrical between the lateral and the medial side of a shoe, and between the left shoe and the right shoe. So hopefully you'll get an impression of where that splattering comes, because it's, like I said, carefully placed. It's not overdone, it's not underdone. It reminds me of something. There was something stitched onto a shoe, and I don't think it was a BLAZER, but it was a very similar shoe. I think it might have been a Converse Chuck 70, and the stitching on it was a collaboration. Oh, it's right at the tip of my mind. But it had the same feel as these, and the placement of the splatter on those shoes, which was actually embroidered on. Hopefully I'll be able to actually find a picture to show you, even if I can't remember the name of the shoe, but it was embroidered on and not splattered on, but it gave the impression of splatter, but carefully placed, not just randomly done. And it's the same with these guys here. So hopefully I've been able to show in the green screen the splatter, the locations of it. I think I'm right in saying it's like green, red, yellow and blue, if I remember rightly, so the 3 prime colors plus green, which is the color. So there's a lot going on with that design, the placement of it, the position of it, and hopefully I'll be able to show that to you guys and give you an appreciation for that. But then there's a lot more on top of that. So we're going to do, what I think I'd like to do is I think I'd like to go 360 from the top around the toe box through the outsole and into the heel. So let's do it that way. Let's do a 360-degree look at this shoe, starting with the insole and the top of the branding on the tongue there. So simple on the tongue, very simple, just Nike in black. back, the red swoosh underneath that, and all of that housed on a white branding panel. And then just behind that, looking down onto the insole on the swoosh, you see that there's red swoosh on the inside of these guys that kind of matches what's going on up there on the tongues. But one of the things I want to hold on to is this is unique. It's the BLAZER's design, and I think there's a few people out there that don't really appreciate this because they think that that unfinished tongue effect is an off-white brand effect, but I think there's a sort of joke at their expense, at the brand Off-White's expense in these shoes, because that unfinished tongue is very BLAZER mid, if you ask me, and I think if you ask just about anybody. But on these guys in the outsole, when we get around to there, you'll see it's an Off-White outsole, which I think is a sort of Off-White with a small O, laughing at Off-White with a big O, if you know what I mean. But before we get to that, let's go down the lacing system and have a look there. One of the features I want to draw attention to was that the lace stays, the wraparound of the laces where all the eyelets are, matches the upper. It's not always the case. Sometimes they go with different materials, for example grey suede on the white leather uppers, but in the case of these guys it matches. It's a little detail to keep your eyes out for, and it gives a sleek feel to the shoe. And then as you travel forward from that to the front of the shoe and the toe, you see the first of two grey suede panels that protect effectively mud guards, but when it comes on the toe like this, you wouldn't really call it a mud guard. But that's in grey suede, and the colour of it's important because it's light grey. When we look at the swooshes and the heels, it'll be worth remembering that. So keeping our 360 degrees going, let's wrap it around and get to that outsole that I already talked about being in an off-white colour, and I think that's slightly, maybe just a little nudge at the Off-White brand saying, you know, BLAZERs were here first, pal. You and your off-white tongues with the unfinished look, very nice, but you know, we did it OG over here at the BLAZERs. So I think that off-white outsole is kind of a cool way to nod to that. And then if we keep going on that 360 sort of journey, we'll get to that swoosh that I was talking about. Now I can't do it justice on the green screen, but the swoosh on these guys in colour as well as texture is slightly off center. It's not pure black, for example. It's more of a charcoal black, so there's just a touch of lightness about it, and the materials have just a little hint of rough in them. I don't see suede. I've read suede, and I'm going against other people's opinions there, and I might be wrong, which I'm fine about, but I don't see this as being a suede swoosh. I think it's something else that's a bit rougher. It almost looks like denim in its sort of construction. So that swoosh on the side though is darker than the grey suede that you see at the toe box and on the mudguard just at the front end of the lateral side. And then back from that we get into the heel, which kind of finishes our 360 degrees. And it's one of the kind of hidden gems on these guys, is because yes, the heel branding panel on the back there is light, just like the toe box and the mudguards on there, but what's in it is kind of unique, the Nike branding in there. Now again, I'm going with my opinion here, and it might be different from what other people are saying, but I think hopefully it's showing up on the green screen close enough for you to see. It looks like it's embroidered on. It's got that kind of jagged edge of a sewn on branding panel, but I actually think the Nike in there is embedded. It's you know, what's the word for it when it's not pasted on, it's stuck on, but you know what I mean. So I don't think it's embroidered. I don't think that's a stitch. It's a stitched effect, but I think it's printed. That's the word I'm looking for. I think it's printed on the branding panel there, not actually stitched. It's just a stitched effect on these guys. And then back out to look at the pair of the shoes as a winner. In fact, instead of looking at the pair of shoes, let's flip it out to what I chose for the thumbnail today. Usually I make my own thumbnails, but when I saw this picture here, I was like, well, I kind of have to use that one. So I used that and then probably just dressed it up with a bit of text or something along those lines. This is a cool way to look at the shoe and get that impression of the painter or the artist or the decorator who's wearing these shoes while they're creating, and because of that they get that splatter effect on them. And hopefully that creation, that feel has come to you guys from me today. I've been able to share that with you. The Japanese word is tsutaeru, is to sort of share or to teach your feeling to people, to tell to people. So hopefully I've been able to tell you, to you my feeling about this shoe, and you've got an idea for yourselves of what you'd be getting into if you're going to dip in on April the 23rd and go for these guys. And that's it for today. Wrapping up another video. The daily videos come every single day. I haven't skipped a day now for a long time, and hopefully, you know, that as we get close in on that 1,000-day mark, we're also going to see a little bit of genesis at the channel as we come out of these like pandemic situations, get out into the world a bit more, and that'll mean that the growth out into the world will be matched by the growth of the channel, not just in of course subscribers, but also in content and the stuff we cover. So things to look forward to. But for now, time to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content. And the final thing to do is just to say I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.